Hello. How's everyone doing? Well, I haven't gotten around to it yet, but I wanted to share these. I mean, you can read these, of course, yourself on StarWarsTimeline.net. But I've been quite busy. I saw Brendan's video, but I just had another funeral recently. I don't even know if I mentioned I had one prior to that. My grandma passed. I think I did, but this one was my great grandpa. Doesn't affect me that much. He mostly spoke Spanish, and I wasn't super close to him, but you know, I've been a bit busy though with all that. Like on my day off, I was pretty much hanging out with family, and then at the funeral on Friday. So I haven't really had time, and I've been trying to read the fan fictions, Band of Thrawn 45, and read some Halo stuff. So I haven't actually had time to read this. But I figured, hey, I'm gonna do it. It's Ewoks, baby. Let's just do it with everybody. I will be taking notes throughout though, because of course I'm gonna make a video on it. It's a you. So, but I wanted to start with this introduction by Joe Bongiorno, who, while he did not translate the story, I have to give major thanks to him, because thanks to him, it's on the website, and we can read these stories now. And thanks to him for a multitude of stories that we wouldn't have without him. So it's major props to him for that. And yeah, so Joe Bongiorno, the Mon, the myth, the Mon, the man, the myth, the legend himself. It's a fascinating phenomenon that stories in the Star Wars Expanded Universe continue to be found in all corners of the world, including ones that the majority of English-speaking readers never knew existed. The exclusive stories that appeared in the 2 issues of Die Ewok comic, I'm going to butcher that, whatever that is, and 3 issues of Die Ewok comic magazine, known in English as the Ewoks comic paperback and the Ewok comic magazine, are among those. And it is only thanks to the tremendous efforts of Thomas Rathusky, something like that. I don't know. I'm sorry for butchering that. Who made the English translations that we can offer them here. There had been a time when we'd hoped to get these properly scanned and reprinted by Marvel. That could have been super neat in one of their lavish omnibus editions. But as is often the case with older stories from countries outside of the US, no one can find the paperwork. And so we present them directly to you, the fans. The colors and illustrations aren't quite up to par, and the layout leaves something to be desired, but at least you can now read and enjoy them. And they are a treat. Whoever the unnamed author was, and it isn't Dave Manek who penned the American Ewoks comic book series for Star Wars comics from 1985 to 1987, I asked, he or she really knew the material and had watched the show, which was popular with kids in Germany. And as wonderfully zany as the show and comics were, it's a treat to see continuity at work here. Who'd have imagined the return of Prince Pluz? And more significantly, we get additional Marag stories. Marag? I did a bunch of supernatural encounter streams and I can't even remember. In the opinion of many, the Tulug witch Marag was the best villain on the show, but she wasn't around very long before the writers dispensed with her. Here she's mentioned each of the 5 tales and appears in one. And beyond references, there are new creatures, threats, and lore. And if you've read Supernatural Encounters, you may find several of these references there. So until we find more rare EU goodies, enjoy these fun and exciting Ewok adventures. That's pretty cool. We've got this little art here. It's cute. The pink makes it look like this thing's like blushing, but it's okay. But before we get in that, I haven't actually checked the comments, but there are none. It's just me, so it's okay. I also want to say, disclaimer-wise, I've never been the biggest fan of the Ewok show. I know, blasphemy. I was more of a fan of droids. Thought that one hit closer to me in terms of my enjoyment. I did enjoy the comics. I thought they were very fun, lighthearted things. But again, just like, it's not even like the Ewok. Like, I like the Ewoks in episode 6, but it's very much like, I don't know. It is what it is. And yeah. So here it is. Dusk was falling over the forest moon of Endor. High in the tree tops on wooden platforms supported by the mighty trunks lay the village of the Ewoks. Tebow leaned over the wooden parapet and looked down. It does feel so safe to live so high up, he said. but a slight shiver ran down his spine when he heard the distant tramp of Brontomex, a dinosaur-like creature, approaching the village. Other sounds became audible: the hissing of a thorn cat, the roar of a swamp lion, all dangerous predators that now, under the cover of nightfall, went in search of prey. "Never in my life," said Thibaut, "would I like to live down on the forest floor. Not at night, anyway." That was Kanisha, the chief's daughter. She had joined Thibaut. "I wouldn't get a wink of sleep," she added, wincing as she heard the ghastly death cry of an animal. "The swamp lion is struck again," said Thibaut gloomily. The little princess snuggled close to him. "Terrible," she whispered. Then she asked, "Have you ever seen one?" Thibaut shook his head. No, he'd only heard the swamp lion so far. He explained, adding, "I don't have the slightest desire to ever meet him either." "It's lucky he can't climb." Kanisha looked down into the depths. The forest floor was barely visible. Everything around them was slowly turning black. "Are the ladders pulled in too?" she asked anxiously. "Of course, my child." Chief Sherpa had stepped behind her and put a reassuring hand on his daughter's shoulder. "You have nothing to fear. Go to sleep now, Kanisha. It's that time." With these words, the chief departed again and shuffled toward his hut. Kanisha, however, stayed with Thibaut for a while. During the night, she had a terrible dream. She dreamt that the trunks of the large 10,000-year-old trees on which the village of the Ewoks rested were slowly sinking into the depths. The forest floor had turned into a groundless quagmire into which the trees were sinking. First the feet, and then the legs, like a wanderer who had lost his way in a dark moor. "No!" She woke up from her own scream. She stared into the darkness. It took her endless seconds to realize that it was not real. She was still in her bed, in a safe hut high up in the trees, and not, as in her dream, only a few meters above the ground. It was the tree trunks that sunk, as soft as a spoon in pudding. With this comparison, she had to laugh out loud, and now she was wide awake. "What's going on?" she heard a sleepy voice. "Oh no, I've woken up my father," Kanisha thought, startled, and heard the answer to reply, "Nothing. I just didn't sleep well." "Look at the guy. Look at, what are these things? What are these boys? I like these boys. They got a nice smile. I like that. Well. She heard a few more grumbling words, and everything was dead silent again. Kanisha knew that it would be difficult to go back to sleep now. What she had seen in the dream was too terrible. How could she get rid of these nightmarish images? She lit a candle. Light was always good when you were afraid of the dark. Light. And maybe a whistle. A little song. She puckered lips, but then stopped. Hovering only a few meters above the ground, she was surrounded by the most gruesome creature her imagination could conceive. The creature of the night, which one never got to see during the day, were now all around her. Glowing eyes in the darkness, bleached, frightening. Dentures, dagger-like fangs, dripping drool. Kanisha suddenly began to tremble all over her body. No, she was not going to wake her father again just because she had a stupid dream. Suddenly she heard noises from outside. Crisp. Crips. They were soft sounds. Really. Not so alarming. But it was something she never heard before in her life. Crisp. Crisp. Now she sat upright in bed and listened. She sat completely stiff and rigid. These strange noises frightened her more than she wanted to admit. "What should I do?" she whispered. "Should I wake up my father?" But she didn't dare. Maybe it really was something harmless, and her father would get mad because she had woken him a second time that night. "Thibaut!" The thought shot through her head, but no, she said to herself, and her face became more and more despondent. "If it really was as harmless as chirping crickets, for example, then Thibaut will laugh at me. Girls, he will say. Girls are always afraid of everything." Crisp. Crisp. And suddenly, there was another sound. Someone was moving on the platform. Tap. Tap. She heard it very clearly. Someone was walking. She swallowed convulsively. Then, in a low, quivering voice, Who is there?" Breathlessly, she listened. Then came the answer. "Psst!" It's me, Wicket. A stone fell from Kanisha's heart. She quickly got up and scurried outside. It was very dark, but she could see Wicket. Did you also... She began hastily, but Wicket put his finger over her mouth and told her to be very quiet. Yes, he nodded. I heard it too. I just want to check before I... He spoke in a very soft voice. Before you what? Whispered Kanisha excitedly. She felt a feeling of panic rising up inside her. It was serious. Oh yes, it was very serious. She saw it on Wicket's face too. Heard it in his voice. Before I sound the alarm, the young scout said quietly. They both looked over the parapet. Is this supposed to be Wicket? Or Tebow? I don't know. I'm going to assume Tebow because there's this. I don't know. Oh my gosh. I got spoiled. That's okay. Wait. I'm lost. Okay. Only with great difficulty did Kanisha suppress a horrified scream. It was like in her dream, but much worse. The whole forest is full of glowing eyes, fiery dots in pairs that seemed to stick to the tree trunk. Sorry. And where the dots were, there was also the sound. Crisp. I don't know how that's actually supposed to go. We're just going to go with it, and you can deal with it. Make your own audiobook if you want it to sound better. Horror resonates in Wicket's voice. I thought they had long since been eradicated. In the old legends, they speak of them. They used to haunt our ancestors, tree killers, insects as big as rats, with teeth as sharp as a saw. The worst plague on a people who lives in trees, like us Ewoks. What are they doing? Gasped Kanisha, though she already guessed the answer. They're eating the trees, Wicket confirmed. Moments later, the whole village was awake. Everyone was running and shouting in confusion. Oh, hold on. We must flee. The trees will collapse. I hate when they do this sometimes in books because then I don't know who's talking. So it's like, if you're trying to do like an audio narration, like how? I don't know who's speaking. They'll bury our huts under them. This is the end of the Ewoks. Help, help. Silence. Silence! That was Chief Chirpa with a commanding voice, trying to stop a spreading panic. He turned to the village medicine man. What do the ancient scriptures say, Low Gray? The shaman leafed through old yellow papers inscribed with strange hieroglyphs that only he could read. After a while, he sighed and said, Someone has to go down. I don't know what his voice actually is. I don't remember. And I probably couldn't do it anyway. So leave me alone. Someone has to go down. He must draw a magic circle around each of the trees that support the Ewok's village. That will protect them. For these wood-destroying predatory insects are creatures of the witch Marag. Marag, the villagers angrily shouted the name of the hated witch. Trippa raised his hand. All right, we will find a volunteer. But Lowgrave Wolf, what about the trees that are already infested? What good will it do us if a few trees are left standing, but the rest die? That is infinitely more difficult to accomplish, Lowgrave explained with a furrowed brow. The key again lies with Marag. These insects, chief, are simple. They'll eat anything made of wood. Even Marag's witch staff. A murmur went through the crowd. It was understood that if the witch staff no longer existed, her magic would also cease to function. The insects would disappear, because they were Marag's. Deviltry. I think that's how I say it. But who will go down in the night? Beasts and monsters are on the way. And anyway, where is Marag? To answer the second question, she'll be close by. After all, she wants to watch our trees collapse and our huts destroyed. The first question can also be answered. I'm going. No, Wicked, said Kanisha, breathlessly. Let someone else, an older, more experienced warrior, go. But Wicked's mind was made up. In admiration, Chief Chirpa and the others watched the young scout lower himself silently down in a vine. Actually, I haven't wrote any notes yet, so that would be tree eaters. Tree eaters due to Marag. Or how the fudge I'm supposed to say her name? I don't write super sophisticated notes. But there's my first one. That's cool though. I also like, I mean, it's not exactly a comic book. It feels more like a short story collection, which is kind of neat. But I should have grabbed some water for this. Doing a lot of reading. But Wicked's mind was made up. In adoration, Chirpa and the others watched the young scout. I already read that. I'm sorry. And Kanisha whispered to Tebow, "How brave he is." "Yes," Tebow said in a strained voice. He was afraid for his friend. He did not think he would see him again. He could still faintly see Wicked drawing the magic circles around the trees as Logray had instructed him to do. Then he disappeared completely in the darkness, the dewy glowing pairs of eyes of the tree eaters. Suddenly, there was a loud crash. The first giant tree collapsed. A groan went through the crowd. Fortunately, it was not one of the trees in which the village was built. But then there was something else to be heard. A barely suppressed, ugly laugh. "Morag," said Logray softly, "as I suspected." So the witch was nearby to see the work of her destruction. The second tree fell, crashing and rumbling, but a moment later, there was total darkness again. The red glow of the countless pairs of eyes had suddenly disappeared. "He did it!" cheered Tebow. "Wicked has done it! He stole the witch's staff and fed it to the predatory insects." Ha ha! I don't know how he's supposed to laugh there. "And here he comes," Kanisha, who had first caught sight of the young scout, reaching for the vine to shimmy at the safety of the village. "He saved us," said Chief Chirpa almost reverently. "And we won't have much to fear from Morag anytime soon," Loke grinned. "What can she do without her magic staff? Oop, my dogs are barking. Fun times. Hold on." And if to confirm this, the loud shrieks and howls of the wicked witch suddenly rang out from the darkness. No one in the village slept that night. Everyone celebrated the great victory over the witch. Wicked's victory over Morag. The end. Then we got this one up next. I don't know if I'm actually going to go through all these. Just want to kind of show you what you could read on StarWarsTimeline.net. Just because, not everybody is subscribed to Brennan, even though they should be. So I thought I'd show these fun little comics, Maybe I'll read a second one. I don't want to read all of them. I want you to experience some for yourself. But I liked it. It's the first time going through it. I really enjoyed the first little story. It was fun. But I think I'll move on to the second one. We'll see how I'm feeling. I am pretty tired. I want to go to bed soon. But we'll see how this goes. So we'll read the next one. The horror came the night, and of all things, when the Ewoks celebrate the Moon Festival. I gotta write that down. It's the next story. The Ewoks celebrate the Moon Festival. Alrighty. Let's begin. For weeks now, the Ewoks had been living in great anticipation. High up in the treetops of the ancient trees, they prepared everything for the great Moon Festival. But they were in a nasty surprise. The hut of Chief Chirpa and his daughter, Princess Kanisha, was decorated with huge blue and purple leaves that grow only on very rare trees of the forest moon of Endor. From berry roots and moon dust, they prepared the most delicious food, at the sight of which everyone's mouth watered. "I'm so glad that we can celebrate a festival so high up and in safety." Princess Kanisha looked up at her father. She was preparing the herbs for Logray's feasting drinks. "Yes, my child. Swamp lions, tomcats, other predators cannot harm us here on the trees. But we must not forget that witch Morag, who keeps putting our tribe in danger." "I know, but we don't want to let the witch spoil our fun at the Moon Festival. So far, she hasn't disturbed any of the Moon Festivals, and I don't expect she will this time either." Is that foreshadowing? Let's hope you're right, Kanisha. The princess finished her work and went to sleep. She was thinking of tomorrow's feast. She wanted to dance only with Wicked and no one else. The next morning, the long-awaited day dawned. The final preparations were made. As dusk fell over the moon forest, all the Ewoks went to Chirpa's hut to dine, drink, and take part in the evening's colorful program. But the joyful hearts of the Ewoks would not remain unclouded. While the forest moon of Endor sank into the darkness of night, disaster approached silently and unannounced or unnoticed by anyone. I'm right, it was just foreshadowing. Oh my goodness. And there's 4 stories in here. Oh, that is something. Look at that guy. Look at that belly. Look at this man. I love it. Dude, that's a chicken laughing. That is a straight up chicken laughing. You know the thing that beats up like Peter Griffin? That's literally what this is. That's crazy. Or like what Dumbo with the freaking crows. It's literally, it's crazy. Look at we got Wicked. I think Tebow. Or is that Kanisha? I can't tell. Obviously that's Marag. I like this guy. This guy's cool. Wait, start here, I'd imagine. Okay. The festival had reached its climax. Everyone was having a great time except for Tebow, who stood a bit apart. I'm upset with Wicked for spending the whole night with Kanisha. Kanisha here, Kanisha there. Pah! As if I were nothing. Anyway, the party's over for me. I'm going to sleep. Nobody noticed Tebow's disappearance except for 2 glowing red eyes that followed him attentively through the darkness. I think I've danced enough for today. Kanisha dropped down, exhaustedly on a hammock. It was great dancing with you, Kanisha. I'll get us some more of Logray's gourmet drink. By the time Wicked returned with the refreshments, Kanisha had fallen asleep. I don't know if you can hear my dog. If you do, I apologize. They like to be loud and obnoxious and annoying sometimes. Of course, I gotta give them attention. My dogs are going off now. Don't know why. Yeah. They're still going. They're making this annoying. Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to kind of spread the love because, you know, obviously Brennan made a video. Obviously, it was announced on the website, but not everybody follows the website and everybody follows Brennan. As I said earlier, even though they should. So I thought I'd do my best to share that these are out now and should be read because they're really fun so far from what I've seen. Also, a good way to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Make a live stream, have some fun, while also taking notes for my next video. So, or not next video publication wise, but because I'm like way ahead of where I need to be. So, but yeah, back to it. Thanks for watching, if at all. Where was I? We'll just say I stopped there. Oh my goodness, doggos. One moment. One moment, guys. Alrighty, apologies for that. Where was I? Okay. The rest of the Ewoks also gradually drifted off to sleep. When the veil of night lifted from the forest moon of Endor and the first rays of light fell through the open window, Kanisha awoke. Happily, she caught sight of Wicked at her side, who immediately opened his eyes when he felt her gaze. How did you sleep? She asked, ruffling his fur. These kids are being rather flirtatious. Oh, like a rock, so deep and sound. So did I. It's a pity I fell asleep. I fell asleep so quickly last night. Now the feast is over. Oh, the next feast will be here before you know it. Now let's see what this day brings. Come on, let's go wake up Tebow. I think we neglected him a bit yesterday. Wicked grabbed Kanisha by the hand, pulled her up, and together they walked into Tebow's cabin. As they entered, they immediately felt an eerie silence. Instinctively, they grabbed each other and slowly walked forward, step by step. They sensed that something was wrong, and Tebow was nowhere to be seen. The only place where he could still be was in bed, which lay behind the curtain. As if hypnotized and guided by a strange power, they walked towards it. Slowly, Wicked pushed the curtain aside with one hand. Kanisha cried out. There lay Tebow, gray and lifeless. He's dead, whispered Kanisha in a trembling voice. That's a funny photo. Wicked touched his friend and felt frightened. Tebow's skin was hard. He has turned to stone, cried Wicked in horror. The news of Tebow's fate spread like wildfire through the huts in the village. In an instant, the Ewoks were on their feet. Everyone came to see the petrified form of Tebow. Oh no, Mirag! She got the basilisk from frickin' Chamber of Secrets. Actually, no, if this is from the 80s, then it most definitely. You know what? Somebody on the Harry Potter, J.K. Rowling. Okay, she read these German comics, and she totally stole this. Copyright infringement. You heard it here first, folks. I have all the evidence in the world. You can totally trust my claims. You heard it here, folks. You heard it here first, folks. Harry Potter stole from these German Ewok comics. Oh my goodness. Anyway, where was I? All right. Chief Chirpa was the first to arrive. Does anyone know where Pablu and Latara are? Several ran and found them in their beds, also petrified. More Ewoks were found, also turned to stone in their sleep. Fear and anxiety seized the Ewoks. Logray, tell us what it means. Yes, Logray, help us. Is this the end of the Ewoks? With these questions, they showered Logray. Silence! The wise medicine man spread his arms placatingly. Calm yourselves. Only then can we think and discuss matters sensibly. One after the other fell silent, and when it was completely quiet, the old shaman spoke in a measured voice. As you know, the many ancient adventures of the Ewoks are preserved in the stories of our ancestors. One such story tells of the courageous fight of the Ewoks against a treacherous monster. It came at night, touched sleeping Ewoks, then they turned to stone. Only one enemy of the Ewoks could have brought forth such a monster. The witch Mirag. Wicked jumped up, angry. He clenched his fist. The snarling swamp lion comes for her. Why won't she leave us in peace? Other Ewoks stood up. What does the beast look like? How can we stop the beast? We must stop it, or we are all lost. That was Chief Chirpa. He had stepped up beside Logray and put his hand on his shoulder. According to the story of the stone monster, a witch can summon such a creature only once every 5,000 years. So the last time this could have been brought to the world is during the golden age of the Sith. And every time it appears in a different form. The time must be now. Our tribe is in great danger. If we do not stop this terrible being, he will eventually destroy us all. So if you want to find out what kind of creature it is, there is only one way. We need all to stay awake this night. None must fall asleep, for whoever falls asleep is lost. Well, that's fun. I gotta take another note, which is that I'm gonna write a fun note, which is that Harry Potter Chamber of Secrets. For me, I'll remember what that means. Sorry, this is what I do when I'm actually reading and taking notes for videos. There we go. There's my note. I'll know what it means when I get to it. Back to it. After the insistent words of their chief, the Ewoks left the meeting and went silently into their huts. What followed were probably the worst days and nights of the Ewoks' lives. The fear of the unknown. Well, if you're going to quote H.P. Lovecraft, the fear of the unknown. I'm not going to do the whole thing. I'm just kidding. The unknown being kept them awake. The first night, nothing happened. Oh, look at him. Look at our boy. Why is my dog going off? Is the monster in here? Am I going to be turned to stone any second? Apparently so. Oh my god. The beast did not appear. More nights followed, and it still didn't appear. It was as if it had disappeared from the face of the earth, except that you're not on Earth, you're on a moon near Endor. The Ewoks were at the edge of their physical strength. The brave little creatures were barely able to keep their eyes open. This can't go on, Wicked shouted angrily in front of the hut. Either the creature is left, or it is lying await for us to fall asleep so it could strike again. Calm down, Wicked. Let's go to Logray. Maybe he'll have some advice. I didn't realize that was Kanisha talking. Kanisha had stepped behind Wicked and put her hand gently on his. Good wise Logray. He was searching his ancient medicine book for his special elixir. Where is it? Or was it him? I don't know. Where is it then? Ah, here it is. Here are the herbal ingredients for the Wake Elixir. The Wake Elixir? Wicked and Kanisha looked at him questioningly. The Wake Elixir, Logray explained, keeps the one who drinks it awake for many days without feeling the slightest fatigue, because of the precious herbs that are needed. It is quite rare. Can only make it for a single Ewok. You know who really needed it? Those kids on Elm Street. A meeting was called, and while the Ewoks debated who should take it, Wicked, who was amongst the bravest amongst them, decided for them and drank it. In the evening after taking Logray's miracle drug, Wicked lay in wake. We gave drugs to children, guys. It's the 80s. He felt fresh and rested. His thoughts wandered to Tebow. He mourned for his faithful friend, but also for the clever Latara, for Pablo, and all the others. They lay petrified in their beds still, as nobody could bear it in their hearts to carry them away. He pondered what would happen next. But there, was that a shadow between the trees near the chief's hut? Suddenly, glowing red eyes stared at him. Wicked got a glimpse of the whole disgusting shape of the beast and screamed as loud as he could to wake the others. Startled by Wicked's warning cry, the beast fled into nearby trees. Wicked ran as fast as he could to the chief's hut, breathing and panting. He stood before Chirpa. It looks like a horrible flying monster. Black with two glowing red eyes, a huge snout, and claws with 7 toes. Chirpa thought in a flash. We have to catch it tonight. Go tell Logray we need large quantities of special glue. I'll tell you everything else then. Chirpa's idea was simple, but smart. The Ewoks painted the bed sheets thickly with Logray's special glue and pretended to fall asleep. Then they anxiously awaited for what would happen. Wicked hoped that it would come to him. Just wait, you ugly beast. This will be the end of you. Suddenly, the stone beast came flying, approaching Wicked's open window. Its eyes illuminated Wicked's hut with a glowing light. Wicked closed his eyes. At that very moment, the monster landed on him. Restlessly, it flailed around, smearing glue all over itself. Realizing that it had fallen into a trap, the creature tried to free itself, but its wings were stuck together, and its feathers were full of glue. Panicking, it burst its way out of the hut. Trying to fly, it leapt over the edge of the platform and, screeching, fell all the way down to the hard ground below, where it died. All right. Thunder and lightning swept over the forest moon of Endor. The fury of the witch Morag was boundless. But the huts in which the petrified Ewoks rested began to light up as they rose up to new life. Oh man, they trusted in Jesus. Tebow, Latara, and the others ran to Chief Chirpa's hut with tears of joy in their eyes. Tebow and Wicked embraced each other. The victory feast which was celebrated that evening was in no way inferior to the moon feast. Yes, it was even much, much more beautiful. The end. So some notes. The villain fell off a cliff and died. This is not the first time this has happened with Ewok villains, so that's fun. Also, Tebow began the story with being jealous of Kanisha and Wicked, and we are blatantly ignoring that setup to not conclude that, so that's fun. But I'm sure Tebow will just continue to be resentful in the back of his mind and get unhealthy feelings toward Wicked and Kanisha and get therapy with someone, hopefully, because they have a good mental health care society on the Forest Moon of Endor, that Tebow can get the help he needs. Until then, this resentment, I would assume, is only going to fester and blossom, unless, of course, the idea is that because he got saved, he has dropped it. I don't know. The story doesn't give it to me. Only negative, but it's for children, so I'm not going to give it a hard time. But there's the second story. You know it. I'm ready whenever. Let's do it. Make it a thing. I'll probably take a week off though. The week of the con, so I could come over to where you live, and then me and you could just go right over to Legends Con 2 together. And you could be stuck with me for longer than the night. Wouldn't that be crazy? You could be stuck with me for longer than the night, Matt. But is that what you really want? Do you really have to endure me for a while? Hi, Brennan. They are fun. I'm almost done. Maybe I should just finish them. But I did have to add some notes. Sounds like a deal? I'm down. I mean, I could totally do it. You'll have to rank each out of 10, as I did in my video. So the first story, I'd give a solid 8 out of 10. Because I'm not a fan of Ewoks, as you know. Beggars can't be choosers. I mean, fair enough. We could work out the details later. As you know, controversially, I prefer the 80s Ewok, 480 and Slip, Droids comics, and show. However, I really enjoy the Ewoks comics. So the previous story, 8 out of 10. This would have been a 9 out of 10, I'd say. But the issue is, you see, that, as I just mentioned, it was setting up some confrontational issues with Tebow and Kanisha and Wicked, and then it is blatantly ignored. Now, this is for children, so I'm not going to give it too much of a hard time. However, I will say, missed opportunity. So because of that, I'm giving it a 7 out of 10. I also learned a truth that all evidence, I am not just spreading rumor mills or conspiracy theories. Definitely no sarcasticness in my voice whatsoever. I know with absolute fact that J.K. Rowling needs to be sued for stealing from these German 80s Ewok comic books, because Chamber of Secrets is a blatant ripoff of this story. Meanwhile, while we're at it, can we go yell at the Greeks for creating the story of Medusa? Because they clearly were just stealing from this story. Interesting note from this story as well that I wanted to recap is that this villain can only be summoned every 5,000 years, which means the last time this had the potential to show up would be during the Golden Age of the Sith. Now imagine if this villain was around during the Golden Age of the Sith, and what stories could be told there. I'm interested to know. Another thing, though, this is the second time that I know of where a villain from the Ewok show, or the extended, I almost said extended like an absolute dummy, expanded universe, falls off a cliff and dies. Now this was less graphic than the Adventures of Tebow, but still was interesting. Please, I'm excited. I am excited. I did say 8 out of 10. Is that a problem? Do you not agree with me? Or are you just surprised because I hate Ewoks? I don't hate Ewoks. That's just an exaggeration. I could never hate Ewoks. Also, any of you can join if you want to be some characters for me, so I don't have to do all the voice acting, if you are so inclined. I know I sent it to one group. I'll send it to Arthur just in case he feels or has the capacity to, I should say, to join. But I assume people are probably sleeping right now or trying to sleep. I don't know. But yeah, so far I've read 2 stories. I'm enjoying it. I should add, what was the other note I needed to bring? 5,000 years. That's important. BBY. And Tebow not resolved. Can we get Tebow some therapy? Because he has some resentment to Wicket that is not addressed here. Because he's saved, and then they hug, and it's never addressed. So This is for kids, so it's still an 8 out of 10 objectively. However, I'm giving it a 7 out of 10 for not resolving what it set up. Let's see what's the next one. Look at this. Look at this. Look at these guys. Look at them. They're so cute. All right. Oh God. Oh, from imported document. What does that mean? What does it mean? It's too small. Oh my God. Can we zoom in? Oh God. Okay. All right. The Lizard Warriors attack. That's the next story. I gotta write that down. I gotta write down the next title. The Lizard Warriors attack. All right. That's the third story on here. Alrighty. Next story to go. I'm excited. Are you guys? You should be. You should be just as excited as I am. If you're not, what are you even doing? What are you even doing? Ewoks. We are the Ewoks. The Lizard Warriors attack. Grok had inside of them. Grok, the renegade, the outcast of the Ewoks, an evil fellow who even made a pact with the witch Morag. I'm probably butchering this name, and I was on Superlit 1,000 times so he could take revenge on the Ewoks. Wicked, Tebow, and Kanisha were on their way to a distant valley when Tebow said to the princess, "You should meet Jodar." Jodar? I don't know. Sometime. Curious, Kanisha asked, "Who is Jodar?" "A lizard warrior," Wicked revealed. The young daughter of Chief Chirpa let out a startled yelp. "A lizard warrior? By the 3 gods! I'd certainly never expect to meet one of those." She shook herself and frowned at her companions. Tebow patted her reassuringly and said, "Now don't get upset, Princess. Jadar is one of the nice ones. We saved his life once." See the Ewoks issue number 4 if you want to understand the context. And now he's practically our best friend. "The nicest lizard warrior you can imagine," Wicked said. Finally, albeit some convincing, Kanisha agreed to go pay this friend a visit, and they took the path that wound to his home. "Are you certain that we'll be welcome?" Kanisha asked. Wicked nodded as they proceeded. "Here's the totem pole already. Or whatever that is." Tebow pointed to a tall pole driven into the ground on the top of the faded skull of a boardok, a buffalo-like creature. "Glad to know." 2 other logs? Yes, logs crossed with feathers and colorful lobes hanging from them, and the feet of the strange structure lay skulls. To the left and right of the valley, caves in the rock walls became visible. Wicked frowned. Odd that he's not here. Kanisha stammered, turning pale at the sight of it. Tebow peered into the nearest cave. "Empty," he observed, with mixed feelings. The 3 Ewoks continued on their way. They looked around and all over, but the valley seemed to be deserted. "Maybe they're on a raid," suggested Tebow, but when he saw Kanisha scowl, he quickly corrected himself. "On the hunt, I mean. The lizard warriors are meat eaters, and..." A groan made him fall silent. They all stopped, as if frozen. There it is again." Kanisha pointed with a trembling finger to another cave. "It seems to be coming from inside. I suggest we get out of here." "If someone's moaning, it's probably in distress," Wicked reasoned. "I think we should investigate," he said, determined. "Or it's a trap," Tebow said, and the 2 scouts more cautiously walked into the darkness of the cave. Kanisha followed at a distance. Suddenly, Wicked called out, "Jodar!" The lizard warrior lay bound on the floor, looked more dead than alive, but then his eyes opened. Another groan escaped his armored chest. "Finally," he croaked out, breathing heavily. Wicked was already loosening his bonds after giving him something to drink. They learned his story. Grok, the outcast Ewok, had once stirred the lizard warriors to war and slaughter. Grok, who'd been exiled by Jadar after the Ewoks had opened his eyes and taught him what good and evil were. Grok had returned. I'm going to check the things real quick. Oh, nothing new. Here we are. But yeah, I love this story. So far, it's 10 out of 10. They're bringing back fun things from the actual mainline comics. Uh, He returned again to incite my people to war. He promised them meat in abundance to the end of their days if they would help me. Help him with what exactly? Asked Tebow dubiously. To destroy you, the lizard warrior replied in a grim voice. What? Escaped Wicked in horror. You heard me right, Jodar confirmed. He promised them anything they wanted. He made a pact with the witch Marak. And before the surprised Ewoks gave an ask, he continued, the witch offered them a great reward if he succeeded in destroying the Ewok race, including a huge palace with an army of demon servants. The vile creatures, cried Wicked angrily, clenching his fist. They're both vile creatures, asked Tebow angrily. They hate us. Grak, because he was cast out when his thirst for conquest did not fit with the Ewok's love of peace, and the witch, because she wants the Sun Star. So long as Logray is our medicine man, she has no power over us. Enough talk, we must act, interrupted Jadar. I tried, but couldn't stop him. He overpowered me. All the lizard warriors on their way to your village with ropes and grappling hooks, so storm it then. For heaven's sake, what can we do? Cried Kanisha. Here, take this. Jadar had dragged himself in a corner and pulled something out from under some blankets. It was a small vial. He handed it to Wicked. It's the only thing that can save your village. And then he told Wicked exactly how to use it. Hours later, the three Ewoks were back near the village. They could already see the huts in the trees. No lizard warriors in sight. Then they heard them. It was an ambush. From out of the bushes, lizard warriors with long spears suddenly appeared. And there was Grak. He started shouting, Get them! Don't let them escape! The vial, yelled Wicked. Tebow, the vial! He had given it to Tebow, who kept it in his shoulder back. During the trip back, still running, Tebow took out the bottle. Open it quick, gasped Wicked, who took Kanisha by the hand and returned with her to the tree village. The pursuers were only a few yards behind them when Tebow finally opened the bottle. Greenish smoke began to spread out from it in the thick billows. A bunch of noises. Grak! Ghastly screams suddenly sounded behind them, slowly growing quicker. When the three Ewoks finally reached their village, climbing up quickly, they could see from above how the lizard warriors were fleeing in wild flight, pursued by the greenish, odorless, for Ewok noses, smoke. For the lizard warriors, that's the most horrendous stench in the world. Wicked later explained to Chief Chirpa and the entire council of elders. Logray, who was also present, nodded. I've heard of it. Marag herself brewed this concoction ages ago. Would you try to get rid of the lands of the race? He jeered. It's actually harmless. But you could chase the lizard warriors halfway around the moon with it. Later, after she allied with them, she gave them the stuff as a sign of goodwill. Just like it was given to us by Jadar now, Wicked asked, sighing. I wish there was something like that to drive Grok away down there. He'll rob us of our night's rest with rantings and curses. I know something, said Kanisha craftily, running off. When she returned, it was a bucket of water that she poured over the platform, right on the ranting and raging Grak. Everybody laughed as the old man sounded scoundrel disappeared back into the woods, in which he would certainly reappear again one day to take revenge on the Ewoks. Look at it. Look at it. Look at it. Oh my goodness. It's great. It's so great. There it is. I love this. It's great. Brennan was right. I love this. That was absolutely awesome. So connected heavily to the comics, this one. More so than even the other ones. We get just Grak returns. Grak strikes back. That's my note for this one. Grak strikes back. And I'll know what I mean when I get to a review. So that's that for that one. Am I almost done? I think I am. I know. Oh, they're all getting smaller again. Okay, I'm almost done. I might as well. I'm almost done. Might as well. Look at this. Oh, it's so cool. This guy's awesome. I don't like this guy. This guy's terrifying. Are you kidding me? If I'm a child and I see this thing, I'm running away. This guy This guy has worse intentions than anybody ever. Look at this man. Look at this thing. Look at him. There is only death and destruction on this thing's mind. Look at it. It even looks like blood here. Look at him. I would not trust this man. I know we're not supposed to judge by appearances alone, but would you trust him with your kids? I don't think you would. You think Matt Wilkins is going to leave his like 3 kids with this thing? I don't think so. I don't think so. Sorry if I just became the freaking Elastigirl from Incredibles, but I don't think so. I don't think so. Alrighty. Alright, now I gotta... Oh, boy, it's too small. Time to zoom back in. No. Zoom. Thank you. No, this one. What was that? That was crazy. Oh, I might need to zoom in more. Can I? Oh, no. Okay, we're gonna do our best here. That hurts. Okay. Trouble for Princess Kanisha. No, we can't have any problems for Kanisha. Let me write that down real quick. Okay. What's going on with Kanisha? We gotta find out, guy. I mean, we're almost done. I might as well go to bed after this. Okay. Oh, my eyeballs. Hold on. Time is hardly moving at all today. Grumpily, Princess Kanisha stepped out of the hut. She saw her best friend, Latara, coming out of her own hut with a basket over her arm. Latara, wait! Kanisha ran toward her. Where are you going? I just want to pick some berries for dessert. I can't do woman voices, mind you. Imagine if I did the Prophet of Truth from Halo for all these voices. The weight of your heresy shall stay your feet, and you shall be left behind. And that's Latara. Like, wouldn't that be terrifying? Actually, I'm always a little afraid of the forest. It often seems so dark and mysterious. And Logre's stories about dangerous moose cats and predatory martins don't help. I prefer not to think about them. They send a shiver down my spine. I'm not going to get to do that. That's funny, though. Kanisha moved in closer to Latara. We don't have to go far. I know a place near where quite a lot of berries grow. Latara tried to make her voice sound firm without any trace of fear, but she didn't quite succeed. Oh, over there, look. There it is already. Quickly, they ran toward the berry field. In no time, the basket was filled. As Kanisha spotted a strange kind of berry. I did the wrong voice for that. I'll have to try those. You too. But no sooner had she put some of the fruit in her mouth that she sank unconscious. All of Latara's attempts to bring Kanisha back to consciousness were in vain. Latara had to get help. Did she get drugged? The little Ewok girl ran back to the village as fast as she had never run in her whole life, completely out of breath. Barely able to speak, she reported what had happened. Also, I'll say, I don't remember if I did, last story, Tal's head. Chief Chirpa gathered some Ewok warriors and Logre, the medicine man, and left immediately. Latara showed them. It's cool. Look at the little elephant thing. They should have seen the princess from afar, but even when they got closer, they could not see Kanisha anywhere. Alarmingly, Kanisha had vanished without a trace. Logre found some of the berries and immediately recognized the stupefying fruit. Knowing the effects of it wore off after a short time. But as dusk fell over the forest moon of Endor, the Ewoks returned to the village, exhausted from the unsuccessful search, no longer believing that Kanisha had woken up and wandered the forest while Latara had gone for help. Wicked's voice interrupted the silence. There is only one possibility. Kanisha has fallen into the hands of the Duloks. There is hope that we might free her, but if one of the predators or even the witch Marag found her... A murmur went through the crowd, and Ewok's fur bristled at the implication of Wicked's words. We must find out if the lazy, conniving Duloks have taken Kanisha. Chief Chirpa barely finished his sentence as Timo came running, all out of breath. I found this under the berry bush. The Ewok stared at the object in his hand. It was the collar of a Dulok warrior. Chief Chirpa immediately assembled a group of experienced and brave Ewok warriors to leave the next days for the Dulok's distant village. I'm going too, Wicked's voice sounded determined and firm. "Oh no, my little friend. You stay here to watch over the village," Chief Chirpa ordered. Astonishedly, Wicked complied without protest. At sunrise, the Ewoks gathered at the meeting place. Chirpa, the wise old Logray, and other brave Ewoks all knew what a danger lay before them. In the first part of the journey, they would fly the gliders. Because of the danger of being spotted by Duloks, they would walk the rest of the way. This would lead them past the dreaded Bog Temple, where the witch Morag sometimes dwelt. After the Ewoks hid in their gliders, the far more dangerous part of the journey began. Logray had read in his old spellbooks that if you rubbed the I don't know what that says, of your feet, soles, I'm assuming, with a special herbal tincture, you could avoid being seen by witches. This is guys showing you why I need glasses, which I have but are not in my room. He had trouble finding these rare herbs, but he distributed them now. Whether they really worked, no one could say, but everyone hoped with all of their hearts. Everyone's muscle tensed, and without saying a word, they crept one after the other along the narrow path of the bog pond on the left side. Thorny bushes grew. On the right side of the bog pond shimmered in the pale light. They could not see much. They each oriented himself by the bright soles of the feet in front of him, because the herbal tincture had caused them to glow a little. Chief Chirpa had taken the lead. Tensely, he followed every sound and every movement. What was that? A shadow? It scurried toward them. What should they do? Was it the witch? Thoughts flashed through Chirpa's head like lightning. No! The voice he now heard, he knew and knew all too well. Stop moving! It's me, Wicked. Wicked, what are you doing here? I followed you in secret. I intend to be there to save Kanisha. Chirpa had no choice. He couldn't send Wicked back alone, knowing how great the danger was. Over the big pool behind them, they breathed a sigh of relief. Had Logray and tincture worked, or had the witch not been in her temple? The village of the Duloks was not far now. It looked similar to the village of the Ewoks, but as it was on the platform, only theirs was much shabbier and less stable. The Duloks were celebrating a festival which could be heard from far away. Thus they had no trouble sneaking up unseen, but what they saw then made them freeze in shock. The Duloks had locked Kanisha in a cage. There she sat, hurdled and forced to listen to what these ugly creatures shouted while dancing around the cage. For amongst them, King Gornish danced. We have captured the princess, the rest of the Duloks shouted after him in a chorus. We will never give her back. The Ewoks will now do what we want. We will no longer be seen as the stupid, lazy Duloks. Now we are the cunning Duloks. I don't even know this. That's just fun for me. So they moved around the cage, chanting. In the hands of each, they held a drinking bowl from which they moistured their dry throats again and again. It was a frightening sight. The little Princess Kanisha in the midst of their hideous creatures. Deeply concerned, the Ewoks crept up close to another to confer. What should we do? The Duloks outnumber us, and we can't possibly fight them, Wicked said in despair. Chief Chirpa rubbed his chin thoughtfully. I have a suggestion. Let us outwit the Duloks. Yes, but how? But when the feast drinks do sleep drink, then when they've all passed out, we'll free Kanisha. The Ewoks were delighted with Logray's suggestion. Quickly, the old shaman gathered the necessary ingredients and mixed them. The trough with the festive drink stood a little apart under an ancient Kila tree. It was no one to reach it, and that offered little protection. Only a small figure had a chance of not being seen. The choice fell on Wicked, as he was the smallest. Wicked slipped nimbly through the low underground. In no time he was at the trough. Just as he was about to put the herbs in, a Dulok approached. Quick, as a flash, he hid by the large jar. The Duloks followed his bowl, and went back to the others. Now Wicked was left undisturbed. From a safe distance, Ewoks watched as one by one the Duloks fell asleep, leaving no one to keep watch on Kanisha. When finally they were all out, they crept up the cage, opened it, and Chirpa quietly took his daughter in his arms and carried her out of the Duloks' village. Only when they were a safe distance away did they cheer with joy. Logray quickly brushed the soles of Kanisha's feet, because the way back led past the bog pond again. He was not sure, however, if it was necessary, because Chirpa responded again. He was not sure, however, if it was necessary, because Chirpa carried his daughter in his arms in the time until they came to the place where they had hidden the gliders. Here they could only breathe a sigh of relief. The next day, the joy was doubled for Ewoks. Kanisha had been rescued, and it was her birthday. Where is Kanisha? Chirpa had not seen his daughter since breakfast. Wicked picked her up earlier. Think he had a surprise for her. Tebow stepped behind Chirpa with a grin and pointed to the clearing. That's when Wicked and Kanisha came riding up, high up on the back of an elephant. They moved leisurely toward Tebow and Chirpa, who couldn't close his mouth in amazement. Kanisha was beaming all over, and it was obvious that it was the happiest day of her life. Well, there's that one. We got one more left. Look at that. Look at this guy. Was he pooping? Was this honey? What am I looking at? It's like Tigger. It's Prince Blues. Alright, it's the last one, guys. We've done it. We've reached the end. The last one, 5 out of 10. It wasn't phenomenal or anything, but it was fine. I like that the Duloc show up again. Alright, I gotta write this one down too. Alrighty. Last one before bed. What a great way to end the night. With the Ewoks. Remember what we were looking for. The prince. No one knew where he was, Chief Chirpa asked, looking around with a grin. The other Ewoks laughed. They remembered only too well how the little prince looked out of the honey pot, all spirited sticky. I wonder if we'll ever see him again. Oh, okay. It's honey. I figured I was just making a joke. It was evening, and Kanisha and Wicked looked up at the starry sky. Secretly, they both wished. If only Prince Plus came back. They'd found the Star Child sweet and funny. Fortunately, they never had the chance to play with him, to romp in the woods, to show him the wonderful secrets of Endor. Everything had happened so quickly. The betrayal to Dulocs, the hurried departure from the droids back into space. My favorite thing is the droid stuff, and they mentioned it. Oh my god! Sorry, I love that. I love that. It mentioned the droid. It mentioned the droids. I gotta write that down. It mentioned the droids. It mentioned the droids. It mentioned the droids, guys. It mentioned the droids. Continuity, continuity, continuity. I love that. It mentioned the droids. It mentioned the droids, guys. It mentioned the droids. It mentioned the droids. Love that. Love that. Love that. Sorry, just overwhelmed by that little section there. Made me very happy. I'm gonna make Plus sound like Winnie the Pooh. There! Kanisha pointed excitedly to the sky. Among the myriad flickering points of stars, something was tracing a long golden path. No, Leto, do not be a worm man over here. Get out of here. I know what you're thinking, said Wicked, but that can't be Prince Plus returning in a spaceship. Sure, the first time it looked like fire falling from the sky in a blinding glow, but this? This is just a shooting star. Pretty big one, though. Maybe a meteor. Nonsense, exclaimed Kanisha. That was a spaceship, she grabbed Wicked's arm. Come along, Wicked, we are going to find out. In the middle of the night? The young Ewok shook his head. He stared in the direction where the glow had gone out. Either there was now the impact crater of a chunk of rock that had chosen their world, of all places, as a landing site after traveling across the universe for countless years, or Chief Chirpa and some other Ewoks had joined them. Father? Did you see that too? Could it not be that? Anything is possible. Chief of the Ewoks interrupted her. But it doesn't have to be Prince Plus. If it is indeed a spaceship, then it could be other space travelers. Speaking from alien worlds that may be hostile to us. It's too dangerous to go out there at night. But tomorrow at daybreak, we'll go out and explore. And memorize the spot. Now go to bed, children. Very late. Kanisha spent a restless night. She kept thinking that out there, somewhere in the woods of Endor, the spaceship carrying Prince Plus had landed. And that perhaps the little prince had come all along this time. She imagined how it might be wandering through the dark forest, looking for the village of the Ewoks, where where lived his two friends, Wicked and Kanisha. Again and again, she was startled in her restless slumber. In her dream, she imagined how the Dulocs insidiously followed the prince, like a pack of Perrots following their prey, or how a swamp lion lurked behind a bush to pounce on the helpless little Plews. No, no, father, we must help him. She was awakened by her own cry. Restlessly, she tossed and turned in her bed. It was a long night that would not end. At least, the hour of dawn came. The first rays of the sun were already falling through the thick, leafy canopy, and the trees and Wicked came into Kanisha's hut. "Wake up, princess," he called. "Everything is already gathered outside. We're just waiting for you." Kanisha came sleepily and rubbed her eyes. At last, she had fallen asleep after all, and now she was terribly tired. "Let's see if Prince Plews has come." Thibaut's funny face peered through the open door. Of course the prince, with a jerk Kanisha straightened up. A few moments later, she was outside with the others. "Let's get moving," she cried hastily, and the Ewoks laughed. "Chief, we would have gone long ago if you had not overslept," said Chief Chirpa. Decided the helical ladder that wound around the trunk in several arcs, waiting until the last one reached the forest floor. But the troop of Ewoks started moving. Chief Chirpa indicated a direction with his arms and marched ahead. He had a very good sense of direction, and those who followed him knew they could rely on it. He would lead them on the spot where the unidentified objects landed that evening, or crashed, no one would know. Besides, it doesn't have to be a spaceship. As Wicked said, it could be a meteor. Abruptly, they stopped. Chirpa put his finger to his mouth and told them all to be silent. Strained, they listened. There were noises in the undergrowth. Something was approaching them. What could it be? A harmless animal that rummaged through the bushes in search of food? Or even a beast that wanted to strike prey? Maybe there was even some Dulocs prowling around, or was it that witch Marog that was up to mischief? And in any case, it was better to be prepared for anything. Some Ewok warrior already held their spears in their hands, ready to throw them. A figure emerged from the thicket. It was tall, massive, with two horns on its head and two large pointed teeth. The creature was greenish colors, as green as... "Prince Plews!" cried Kanisha suddenly. She had spotted her little friend first, who now appeared behind the big green stranger. "Ewoks, Ewoks. So this is your friends?" said the stranger in a deep, but I can't do Winnie the Pooh, but friendly voice. The Ewoks stared at him, some fearful, others determined to stick back all at once if attacked. Now Wicked understood. "Put down your arms," he ordered the Ewoks warriors. "This here is Prince Plews with his father, I presume." "Oh, father, that's right. I'm little one father. King Goku's. I know it's not how you're supposed to say it, but I'm saying Goku's because of Dragon Ball Z. The ruler of Alazar introduced himself. He shook hands with everyone. "How wrong appearances can be, I think. I like him." Prince Plews, meanwhile, was dancing around Logray and screeching, "Honey! Honey!" This is what he wanted for his birthday. To again nibble from the honey pots and the Ewoks on Endor. "That's why we came," declared King Gokus, laughing boisterously. And the other Ewoks joined in his laughter, relieved. While Kanisha winked at Wicked and said, "I told you that was not a shooting star. Our star child has returned." And that, my friends, is Ewok Comics. That one, I give a 6 out of 10. I have to. That's about it. So, journey's done. I audiobooked these with all of you, but I still recommend you read them for yourself. You can find it at StarWarsTimeline.net, and we are still waiting, and will hopefully come out soon, the Hungarian translations, which will be the most professional and accurate source possible for you. But yeah, I'm quite tired, so I'm gonna head to bed. But thank you all so much for watching. Thanks for sticking around, and go check out the Star Wars Expanded Universe, StarWarsTimeline.net account on the internet. Go Google it. Do yourself a service. Till next time, guys. May the Force be with you. Good night.